Welcome to this podcast will fix me. This week is actually for the book club. Binasa namin yung Second Chance Books by Carina Gaskell, a romance novel set in the fictional Cerulia about childhood friends na magre-reconnect serendipitously sa isang second-hand bookstore. What I really loved about this book is sobrang hitik niya with themes and meanings. It's about community as much as it's about romance and how love can enter our lives in so many different ways. Romantic love, but also love for family, for friends, even love for books. So in this episode, I got to talk to Carina, who's a Filipino independent author, about the book, but also the politics of romance and reading in general, and trying to make it when you're young, and what it's like being an author in the Philippines. And basta ang dami. We're also giving away a copy of Second Chance Books. Abangan nyo na lang paano. And if you wanna join the book club, it's on the Fable app. It's called This Book Club Will Fix Me. Enjoy! Welcome to This Book Club Will Fix Me. Before we officially begin, can I ask you, number one, your favorite tropes, siguro top three, and number two, your favorite yearning moment in media?
In media. Okay. Okay, so first one, my favorite trope. I am a sucker for, I know I'm gonna get like flamed for this. I love insta love. Like when they see each other and he's like, wait, no, you are my soulmate. I'm like, yeah, if he doesn't know, like, bye. I love it so much. The second one, sorry, what was the second one? Um,
Your favorite yearning moment in media?
Favorite yearning moment. Hmm. Pwede balikan? Like I have to think about it.
Yeah, go lang, go lang. I actually
Cause
have an answer to that one. I've been thinking about it. Kaya I
okay.
wanted to know yours also. Pero merong Have Abby song. It's called
Ooh.
Walang Alam. And
Ooh.
so parang kilala si Have Abby as like, the rapper. Tapos
Yeah,
yung
yeah.
yung image niya kasi ay 'di ba para sa streets ganyan. So like not loyal to anyone. Pero that song, the opening line says, "Dumadampi na lang sa akin ang kamay mo pag may kasabay na tagay." So it means like nahawakan niyo na lang yung kamay nung partner kapag like nag That's crazy. Like on a rap song.
True, totoo. If pwede music, recently, like, I listened talaga to Adi. Do you know
Oh
Adi?
yes.
Classic. Like, it gets me in a yearning mood, so.
In terms of the book specifically, congratulations. I know this is your debut and you've had
Yeah.
a bunch of other books na before, pero I'm sure this holds a super special place in your heart as the first one. I'm very curious in terms of the writing process siguro, if there are any elements or themes na since the beginning, alam mo na you would discuss or touch on in the book, and ano yung elements na you just kind of discovered or stumbled upon
Right.
while writing.
Right. Actually, for second chance books, I think a lot of the themes that ended up in the finished product were the themes that I started out with. It was just a matter of um the events mismo that would take place in
Mhm.
order to explore those. Because I mean, am I allowed to spoil? Am I allowed to
Yeah.
say spoilers?
Sige, go, go.
No, no, no. Okay, no, because iba na lang. In the original draft, one of the main turning points. So, diba, like Roger,
Mm.
his storyline was a little different. The big kind of reveal happens in the middle of the book and then follows afterwards. Like it was a completely different plot, but then as I was writing it, I was like, no, like I have a different you want to explore grief but in a different way.
Mhm.
Um, and I think at that time, I think I was 24, going on 25 when I was writing it. And in a lot of ways, I was grieving like my youth because I was like entering my mid 20s and I was becoming really a full-fledged adult. And so it was part of that was like saying goodbye to things that aren't fully gone yet.
Mhm,
And then also how like the thing that keeps me tethered to the past is also like stories of it or pictures of it. And so, like my love for books also was a theme for that. Like it keeps me connected to that past, but also keeps me looking forward to the future. So yeah.
yeah, I love that answer. Really resonated with. Perfect.
Pwede
Okay,
na
tapos
mag-Miss
na yung
Universe.
podcast.
Pwede na mag-Miss
Oo.
Universe.
I loved what you said about parang grieving something na it's not fully gone yet. That's something I've been thinking about. Kasi parang with like my day job as the editor of like a young public, like a youth-focused publication, I read a lot of
yung thoughts and feelings of like young people na alam ko naman na i-outgrow nila eventually. Like I'm sure an essay you wrote when you were like in senior high school or like college freshman, hindi mo na yan papanindigan when you become a little older. So I've been thinking if tinutulungan ko lang ba sila to publish something na I know na parang like they won't resonate within a few years, ganyan. So parang may ganong anticipatory grief, which is like
Yeah.
bakit? Like, let's just like focus on the present. Ito naman yung life nila right now. Hindi naman sila nabubuhay like 5 years from now.
I will say, like, something that I noticed that I don't like. I don't know if it's just a Filipino thing. I'm sure it's like a general thing, but at least in terms of writing and like the literary scene. So like when somebody young publishes, often like you'll hear older like and professors or so on and so forth saying, yun nga, na hindi nyo, you're gonna outgrow that. You just need to be better read and stuff like that. But I think there's so much value to giving younger writers a platform to be like who they are in that moment. Because as much as like, yes, they will outgrow it, that growth isn't possible if they're not where they are right now. And so like I feel like the people who discredit what younger writers or younger people have to say are often people who have forgotten or have repressed who they were when they were younger or were made to feel like they were invalid, and so when they were older they were like, oh, so the older people who were like trying to silence me were right, which means that the next time I hear somebody who says something I used to say, I have to tell them they're wrong. But like, no, like if for me, like if I've been saying something for since I was 15 and then I meet a 15-year-old who is saying the same thing, then I'm like, oh, shucks, like I didn't do my part if a young girl is still going through the same thing. And so for me, like it's so important what you're doing to empower and to give a platform to those people, to those young like writers, because those young writers will become like the adult writers of the future.
You get
Yeah.
it.
I get
Exactly.
it.
You
Yeah.
get it. Like, siguro quick tangent lang din. A lot of kapag I explain my job to like adult din naman tayo, pero like the older ones, parang iniisip nila na hindi ba nakakapagod mag-edit ng gawa ng bagets because their feelings are always like, so, OA, ganyan. And sige, OA din naman ako. So, parang, di ba, I get what they're writing. I get the value of the stories
Yeah.
that they tell. And I wanna, diba, amplify. Anyway,
Yeah.
enough about
No, no,
me and my
no.
job.
No, 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 because I was gonna say like there is something so pure and like very the intensity of emotion that's present in
Mm-hmm.
younger writing. So we can talk all day about like craft now. Oh, they need to refine it more. They need to learn how to express it more. But that like raw energy that's going into the work, a lot of people, because they get told nga na, oh, you need to like your writing is too amateur, you're too young, they lose that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that like what's important as an older writer is to be like a steward of that, is to be like to recognize that that younger writer has something to say and they have that energy and to guide them into developing that their own voice. And I see you do that, and that's why I'm like when people when if people are like discrediting you, sasampulan ko sila.
Let me clip that real quick. It reminds me of, sorry, last tangent na about like this
No,
topic.
go
Pero
lang.
that reminds me of something na sinulat ni Lord. Like before her 20th birthday, Lord posted like a letter. It's not even like a song lyric. As in, pinost niya lang sa Facebook. It says, even when I was little, I knew that teenagers sparkled. I knew they knew something children didn't know and adults ended up forgetting. And which is just
Absolutely.
like perfect line.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lord's debut album, Olivia's debut, resonated with so many people because they were writing from that place. And I think if we hold them to the same standard as like 40-year-old writers, like we're doing ourselves a disservice because I think
Mm.
everybody has something to say and they have their own like audience.
And speaking of debuts, segue, second
Yeah.
chance books. A question that we had about this is Cerulia is a fictional place.
Mhm.
And you mentioned on social media na parang it's a mix of different places like the UK and Ireland, ganyan. Was there like a particular reason why you wanted to create a fictional
Right.
city to set the story in?
Okay. Quite a long answer. Um, when I was debuting, I wasn't fully comfortable I wasn't fully there yet, I would say, in embracing who I am as a Filipino writer. Meaning to
Mm-hmm.
say, something that I struggled with in college for a very, very long time is writing things set in the Philippines felt too close to home. So, meaning to say, something that I grappled with is how can I write a love story set in the Philippines without touching on like class issues, like social mobility, politics, like the corruption. And it felt like if I wrote a book set in the Philippines and I didn't touch on those things, then I would be like glossing over it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Eventually, of course, I learned how to like go about that in my own way that really like embraces my experience as a Filipino. But at that time, at like 24 to 25, I wasn't really sure. And to me, of course, don't cancel me. It seemed like creating like a fictional place was a neutral way to explore the things that I'd experienced in the Philippines without having to touch on um very direct like nerves as a Filipino. So in a way it was like part cowardice and also part because I was obsessed with the scenery of like the countryside in Ireland and in the UK, particularly the Cotswolds. Um, I also wanted like the parang what's it called? They have stone cottages kasi that are like almost like buttercream yellow that I thought was really beautiful. And I guess like now, like looking back on it, I super love that place still, but I could see that, because we were on the subject of young writers, I could see how even my philosophy as a writer was very like young pa, very colonized Filipina woman. But like, but yeah, like now it's different because I'm like, what can happen in the US that can't happen here?
Mm-hmm.
I guess a lot, but like the very bare bones, like you can fall in love here. You can like end up in a small town here. You can end up in like you can find a secondhand bookstore that you can fall in love with here. But yeah, so it was just me really trying to find a neutral setting where I could, as a novice writer, explore the themes I wanted without feeling bogged down by my identity. But over time, like I learned I was doing myself and my writing and my stories a disservice. And that's why like the progression from this debut to my latest release, it's very like different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Duwag. Basically duwag.
Pero that's so young kasi to release a book, di ba? 24 to 25.
We're kind of sold this idea of like the prodigy, the young prodigy,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Parang when I was younger, I was like, if I am not published by 18, I'm a loser. But it's like having published at 25, I'm like, oh, I kind of like wish I waited a little longer and wrote more books before I published. But also I'm very proud of like the journey I took. But also there's no rush to it. Like,
mm.
yeah.
I know. Parang I'm so scared then. Parang as someone who's 25 also, parang wala pa akong, I think I mentioned this to you before, pero wala pa akong thoughts na parang gustong ilagay sa libro. Libro na
Right.
parang that's gonna survive, that's gonna like live longer than me.
Yeah.
Bakit parang naging therapy session po ito? Love that! Free therapy!
This will fix me talaga. This will fix me talaga. You know what? Every time I talk to people there or they ask me about my writing, they're always like, "Oh my God, it's giving therapy session." And I'm like, "Sorry. My partner was a psych major. I think maybe that's why."
Speaking of the bookstore, we will keep this a little spoiler free. Hindi ko alam paano natin
Okay.
gagawin yun. Pero, something happens in the bookstore at the end.
Yes.
When you first read the book, hindi mo sure kung anong mangyayari sa kanya. And then at the end, you get the answer. If you get what I'm like floating. Did you
Yeah.
know from the start when you were still writing it, alam mo ba na yun yung magiging ending niya? Na yun yung
Yeah,
magiging sa bookstore? Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I think when I write, I will have an idea and then I will fast forward to the ending and then I'll
Mm.
work backward. How do I get there? So, yeah, I was typically with a romance, right? It ends with a happy ever after. But I noticed with mine, it's always happy ever after while still like maintaining it's not like tied neatly in a bow. Like you
Mm.
win some, you lose some. But yeah.
Gets. parang syempre it's a slow burn, ganyan. Pero kanina when I was parang skimming through it ulit, nakita ko sobrang nipis na lang nung libro. Spoiler ba to? Hindi ko alam. Sobrang nipis na nung libro before they actually like get together and say, parang actually profess their feelings. And when I was first reading it, inisip ko, are you going to that parang daring route? Na what if they don't really end up together? Ganyan, parang is this a romance na hindi sila magkakatuluyan? Similar to like what happened to the bookstore at the end. Pero ayun, it's all worth it. They're so happy
Yeah.
together. I'm so happy for them.
I feel like something that is very underrated now with the romance genre is that foundation of friendship. So we get
Mm.
a lot of criticism of romance where it's all just smut or like lost in substitution for like romance. And like first of all, I love smut. So that's not like if there's a lot of smut, I don't think that takes away from the book. But
Mm.
I can definitely like see how parang there is a tendency to think even just from what I hear from people who are in the dating scene, like there's this confusion of physical attraction as, you know, romance. And I think that physical attraction and that physical compatibility is one component. But me, at least, the most romantic pairings that I really like root for are the ones who are really, really good friends at the parang at the baseline.
Mm.
And that's like the foundation. And parang what's it called? Not me saying parang over and over. Um me forgetting my words because I got distracted. No, but like I also think that a lot of people might not agree with me, but I think it's very romantic when two people who don't see eye to eye are both very dedicated to working it out in order to meet in the
Mm.
middle. So kunyari
Mm.
like they both want different things. And like most like people, at least from what I've heard, is okay, well, we want different things. We can't be together. But I find it so romantic when two people like they want different things, but they also know they want to be together. So they're gonna find a way to be together. And I think that tension is really what gets me like, tell me
Mhm.
more. Versus when it's like, oh yeah, you're attractive. I'm also attracted to you. Let's be together. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I feel like that's one component, but without like that tension, I kind of like as a writer anyway, I get bored with my own story if it doesn't have that.
That reminds me of nung nilabas ni Taylor yung The Life of a Showgirl and everyone was talking about ruining the friendship. And there were parang arguments na is it good to ruin the friendship or parang when you ruin the friendship doesn't that mean na kaya mo lang siya naging friend kasi parang gusto mo siya romantically from the start, so were you really friends to begin with? Pero I think hindi naman, ewan ko, parang during that time, sobrang daming invalidation sa friends to lovers. Pero I feel the same way as you, na parang iba yung kapag when you start out as friends, iba talaga yung foundation. And
Yeah.
you really get to know each other in a different way. Anyway, I'm a pro ruin the friendship. If
No,
meron sa inyong tatlo na parang looking for a sign to ruin the friendship, ito na yun.
or anyone who listens. No,
Yeah,
but
anyone who listen.
you know what? I'll say, like of course, different strokes for different folks. But whenever like a friend tells me, "Oh, I like my friend, but I don't want to ruin the friendship," I'm like, "How weak is your friendship that a rejection won't
Mm.
like survive it? Like it won't survive a rejection. I mean, like because for me, kunyari, if a friend like me, wow, kapal, or if I liked a friend and they were like, "Oh no, sorry, I just see you a friend as a friend," syempre it would hurt my ego, and it's normal for like to want a break while you're like nursing that wound. But I think if you hold a grudge or if they hold a grudge, grabe naman, sino ka ba? Like, like a crush is a crush. It shouldn't be
Mm-mm.
that big of a deal. And like, if you want to explore that, I feel like, okay, slightly tangent now, but I don't remember who said this, but it's really stuck with me na parang you can be compatible with anyone. You can have chemistry with anyone, whether that's your friends, your classmate, a stranger, but you can't just build a life with anyone, right? And so parang there's nothing wrong with exploring that compatibility or that chemistry with a friend. And like if you're both, very mature about it and you have very like you go into it eyes wide open. It shouldn't like ruin the friendship if like you guys are both like, okay, let's try this. And if it doesn't, it's like, okay, well, that didn't work out. How do you want to deal with this after? And if you guys both want to stay friends, then stay friends. And it's all a matter of like having that conversation, having that difficult conversation like, okay, this didn't work out. I enjoy your company more when we were friends. So let's just go back to that. And if the other person doesn't want, edi, don't. Like it's
Mm.
fine. It's like that. And I think also maybe it's just being scared of the grieving process if you were to lose someone. But I guess over time, the older you get better at loosening your grip and letting things go because you know from experience that better things will come. I don't know. That's just me.
I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Open Endings. Basta sa Cinemalaya siya last year. And one of the things they kept saying in that movie ay ang friendship ay hindi consolation prize. Kasi
Oh my
parang
God.
mag-ex sila dun eh. Parang apat silang women na parang mag-ex or like basta connect-connect yung love stories nila. And yun yung lagi nilang sinasabi na parang friendship is not a consolation prize na hindi
Absolutely.
porket parang na friendzone ka, that's like a demotion or
Yeah,
something.
I think that perspective comes nga if you befriend that person because you have ulterior motives. Which I think if that's the case, like you feel that way, it's time to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like and not blame the other person for not following the script that you had written for both.
Mhm. Exactly. Sabi nga sa chat, let's go frontal lobe development.
Yeah, wait, I like the other one. Love transformed is not love
Mm.
lost. It's giving like this call is giving Facebook tita like sharing the quotes. I love it.
May mga glitters pa sa
Oo.
I'm so glad na parang develop na ang frontal lobe ko. Alam ko naman na parang scientific myth lang siya, pero I do feel a difference
You
kahit
really do.
papaano.
It
Yeah,
hits, right? Wait till you
yeah.
turn 27. I
Oh my
turned
gosh.
27 because I thought I was like at 25. Well, maybe you're like you're better than me. You're more adult than me. At 25, I was like, no, I'm an adult. And then at 27, I was like, oh my God, I'm an adult. Like it I don't know what it is, but something changes. So I'm excited for you to turn 27.
Okay, I'm scared. Next year pa naman siya.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. What is something you feel you had to learn? Can be like life-wise or writing-wise before you could write this book, especially
Mm.
since it's your first one.
Mm. Okay. I feel like there's the way that I live my life is always oriented towards writing. So
Mhm.
often I will go through something like really traumatic and automatic my brain is like, how can we work this into a plot? I think that's really how I process things.
Mhm.
I really don't know why, but I've always been like that since I was a kid. So for this book, obviously the what's it called, being able to do it like number one, right, being able to like go through that whole process and then come out of it with a finished product, um finished manuscript and then finished product, those are two different things. um but it's also I think before writing this book, I used to be like, oh my God, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. I need to publish, blah, blah, blah. And I was like 18. I was in college in 18 and I was so scared I was running out of time. But writing this book and then publishing this book, I realized, oh, I was just right on time. I needed to go through all of that in order to put it in that book, in order for that book to be what it was. If I didn't live through those things, if I didn't have those struggles, those insights, there would be no book. And so if I was rushing through it, I would have had like a very like hollow book,
Mhm.
right? And so I think from then on, I, of course, there's pressures in publishing, but from then on, I was like, if I'm working on a manuscript, I'm like, okay, this will take however long it needs to take. And if it doesn't want me to write it, I'm very like superstitious about my writing. If it doesn't want me to write it or it's not ready to be written, it'll let me know. And all I can do is really just let it sit and then let it call to me when it's ready. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think everything you said about love and community in this book, it takes a while for us personally to learn it. Parang I think, 'di ba, when you're a young person, how you see love or how you picture it in your life, it's a very specific, short-sighted way. And I think when you grow older, tsaka mo na-realize yung parang the different kinds that love can manifest in your life. And one of my favorite lines, wait lang, let me pull it up quickly.
Wow, she highlighted
Wow.
it. She's
Yeah.
Miss Annotations.
Performative. It's a short statement, pero beautiful as in loved. So I think parang dinedescribe yung isang character as beautiful and it's beyond skin deep. It's beautiful as in loved. As in when you are loved, that's when you're beautiful. And I think, diba, like as a teenager or like someone who early 20s, ganyan, hindi ko pa yan maiisip or like I wouldn't believe it na parang I think beauty when you're a young woman, it's so central to your identity, your life, how you live your everyday life. But when you grow older, it kind of shifts along with how you define love, ganyan. And I just really loved that line. But I think it encapsulated so much. So much. It encapsulated so much. Ayan. And
Oh,
yun.
you. I feel like I know the book, if I remember correctly, that there's conversations on like the physicality, right? The beauty components of being a woman. I remember writing that. And I think it was at because at that time I was reading The Beauty Myth by
Mm.
Naomi Wolf. Life changing, like really opened my eyes to how the concept of beauty, like physical beauty, has been used to keep women docile and obedient. Um, and I was also like going through like a lot of like struggles in my personal life. And I was kind of like, oh, I hate this. But honestly, the things that taught me the most about the power and like the beauty of love were when I was in situations when it shouldn't even have been there. When like, kunyari, like in I'll just make up an example. If me and my partner were fighting, the fact that love still manages to be there when it could so easily sour and turn into hate or apathy, but no, like that love is there. That really taught me how powerful it is.
Mhm.
That it it really it's so transformative. And I think in The Little Prince, right, there's the quote about, oh, it's just any other rose, but because you water it, it is your rose. And I think it's like that too. Like my partner was telling me recently na he asked me, "Do you call our friend the same pet name that you call me?" Because I call him Beeb. And we call our cats our Beebs. And we joke that my friend is our Beeb, like she's our daughter. And he said, like, "Do you call her Beeb also?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Okay, good, because the name that you give something describes your relationship to it." And so when you say that you love, like, kunyari, you're my love, that describes my relationship to you as one that is loving or like baby or even like best friend, ganon. And I don't know, like I think that beautiful meaning loved speaks to that, I guess. Yeah. I also write from a place of when I feel hopeless and I'm desperate for like proof that love is like powerful, that it exists.
Mm.
I will tend to write really hopeful things because once I put those words on that paper, it already exists by nature of me having written it down. And then you reading it and it resonating with you is an affirmation of its existence. And so by nature of reading that, right, you are resonating with the me who was like scared, alone, like is there anybody out there who feels this way? And I think that's I think that's so wonderful about
Mhm.
like writing and publishing. Yeah, sorry, that was a tangent.
Pero yeah.
Emotional.
So aside from yung mga themes na we got to talking about earlier, what's your favorite part about your book? Kasi when we do the book club, ganyan, that's one of the first things I ask the members na parang, oh, what was your favorite part? Or parang, what stuck most with you? So I want to know parang you as the creator of this world, like what's your favorite part about it?
I really, really enjoyed writing the interview transcripts
Mm.
because like I would like as a novice writer, a novice author at that time, I would always ask myself, can I do this? Is this possible in this medium? And I was very scared. And then I also could not rely on like action verbs as much. So I had to really rely on the strength of their voice, like the character's voice. So for example, like I don't remember the specific line, but there would be like lines where they'd explain something and they'll be like, no, 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 I'm serious. Like I mean it, which indicates, right, that behind the camera, like the subtext is somebody's like, huh? And so I think that was really fun for me is to
Mm.
envision it, but only write one perspective of it. Yeah.
And that was also a super effective avenue to dive deeper into the community aspect of the book, which is one of our favorite parts then,
Oh,
na the found family of it, the community of it, na love really is communal. Like it doesn't exist just between like partners. It's all
yeah.
around. It's with the people around you in your life.
That's actually like a really, really good statement, is that um I've also been trying to think of what compels me to write the kinds of romances that I do. And when you said that love is communal, it's true. Like the kinds of romances where it's really just circling around the two main couple and the whole world revolves around them. It has its purpose, but it doesn't speak to me as much. I
Mm,
like contextualized romances more, na parang these two exist within a very specific world in a very specific context. So
mhm.
yeah, love is communal. I love it.
Yeah.
Take that.
Go, it's yours.
Thanks.
Yeah. That reminds me of I did an interview with like a research center, I think last year. So they're a very serious, alam mo yun, na parang they study disinformation, fake news, ganyan. So really in the thick of what's wrong with society right now, ganyan. So they're
Mm-mm.
very like yung work nila, I can imagine it's so taxing, so exhausting to wake up every day and study the downfall of Philippine democracy. So I asked them na parang what is it that keeps you hopeful? 'Di ba? What makes you get up in the morning and continue the work? And siguro I was expecting their answers to be kasi serbisyo to sa mga Pilipino, ganyan, or I wanna change the world. Pero yung sagot nila, it's unexpectedly trivial. Parang one of them said, "Oh, it's pagkagising ko sa umaga, like nandun yung nieces and nephews ko, I get to see them at home, or like my parents having coffee outside, ganyan." And it's these like small little things na hindi mo naman masyadong napapansin when you live every day, pero that really is kind of the core of why you do what you do. Na parang, and I think I'm the same, na parang para saan pa ba na we want to transform the world, 'di ba? If not for the people we love, if not wanting kind of a better life for them, if not like wanting our parents to continue having coffee outside, 'di ba? Para saan pa? So, ayun, parang I think frontal lobe development moment din yun when I was talking to them. No, oo nga, no, it really is kind of the people around you that kind of gives you the energy and the the audacity siguro to still kind
Yeah.
of want more and imagine like another version of the world that's better, ganon.
Yeah, like Miss Mo, like I think that when we experience love, like the genuine love, the one that doesn't expect anything back, um, we that love makes us want what's best talaga for that person. And so I can see in the case of like the researchers is that, there's that love between them and their parents or them and their nephews and nieces, mga pamangkin nila. And it's like knowing what like all of the horrors in the world, right? You want more for them. You want
Mhm.
better for them. And I think that's why like, oh, eto na. You really cannot divorce politics from
Exactly.
not. You really
Mm.
cannot. And I think that we are doing a disservice to ourselves when we pretend that politics is limited to governance. And we've
Mhm.
talked about this before, but um like I get flamed quite a bit in whisper networks for it na parang yeah, like they just think that it's something that you can separate, that this
Mhm.
is business and this is like whatever is going on in the other side of the world should not affect this. But I think that this and this you cannot separate that because like this is not possible if this is going on,
Mhm.
right? And we can't like cover our ears because I don't know, for me, yeah, love is justice, absolutely, bell hooks mama. No, but yeah, like I cannot like stomach writing happy ever afters when so many, love stories or even just stories are getting written out or silenced. And it's really just like what a random lottery or luck that has put me here in the Philippines instead of in Gaza or um, in Iran, right? So I don't know, like I get so emotional about it, but like for me, also the people that think that romance isn't like a socially conscious genre, again, another disservice to like the potential and like the fertility of the genre to explore social issues.
Medyo related na siya sa next question ko. Kasi online, when we say romance, parang there's an assumption na, oh, it's an easy read. Kasi it's about love, ganyan. Doesn't that parang limit the medium or the genre? Parang it makes it, ano ba, unfit to discuss heavier themes when as you mentioned nga na you really can't divorce it kahit na hindi naman yan i-spell out sa libro itself. Parang it's behind the hidden gears or like the invisible hands that kind of dictate what happens in the world where the characters operate
Right.
in.
Right. Yeah. I feel like kasi romance, the tension and the stakes can be something as small as are they going to make it, are they going to meet at the train at the right time, at the train station at the right time, or something like in like romantasy, right, life or death. um but there's such a wide spectrum that I think for a lot of people, it's easier to kind of just generalize and say, oh, it's just fluff. Oh, it's just frivolous. Oh, it's just like smut. Um, and there is like a space for each one, and it serves its own audience. But I think if we ignore the romance books that are trying to like move the needle or like do something different. And I think I mostly see that from authors of color talaga who cannot like escape um for example in the States their marginalization, right? That's part and parcel of being a minority in the US. Of course, I can't speak to for the diaspora. I keep mispronouncing that. But obviously Western publishing still dominates. So we still get a lot of white stories. And so that dominates the popular conversation. But here in the Philippines, we have a lot of talented writers writing in Wattpad. But I don't know if I'm off base, pero may halo na ring classism, I think, why a lot of people discredit it. Or they think it's para sa mga bata, that there's no depth in it. And again, we can talk endlessly about craft, but I think that all of us want love. And so for some reason, people think that it's such a shallow thing, or
Hmm.
like they think na parang, ugh, whatever, it's so pointless. Like, oh, they fall in love, boy meets girl, or whatever. And it's like, that says more about you than it does about the genre. Sorry, I feel like I didn't make sense, but
You
I'm just
did. Mm.
I'm just so tired of like people who really think that it's just like voila, like nonsense fluff. You just go to it nga, like you said, for an easy read. And I think that might reflect the zeitgeist on how we approach relationships where I mean nowadays we have I'm not sure what it's called, like low stakes ata. I'm not sure. Basta parang very drama-free romance, which, like it's good. It's very important. But I also think that a lot of people outside of romance are just kind of afraid to have difficult conversations or what we nowadays will refer to as non-confrontational.
Mm.
Sorry, dropping shade, I guess. Um, and I think that's why they get scared to engage with those things in literature. But I feel like literature is like the safest place to explore those things. But I don't know. Maybe a lot of people can't really tolerate discomfort na. And that might be because of like how social media has trained us for like the dopamine hits. I don't know. It's all linked in my head. But
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
Stop me if I'm not making sense.
You are, you are. And since you mentioned Wattpad, I've been thinking about this also, na parang hindi, when we talk about books online, halimbawa ako bilang someone who posts on TikTok, ganyan, hindi, parang that's a side of the book world na hindi ko masyadong napapansin. And it's very easy for people like me to kind of dismiss na, oh, ang mga nagbabasa naman yan ay high school, ganyan. Pero when you go to real life book events, like Manila International Book Fair, for example, sino ba ang nagpapahaba ng pila? Anong booths ba yung sobrang daming tao? Yung mga Wattpad books, yung mga yung mga self-published na nauunang i-post online, ganyan, yan yung sobrang daming readers. It's so easily dismissed for something that's so monumental or like something that's so crucial to so many young people.
Like I remember in college, it was my intro to poetry class, and it's honestly, in my opinion, like a lot of my classmates, even my professors, would make fun of Sila Rupi Kaur and like Lang Leave. Um, but for me, if it resonates with people, I mean, Lang Leave was my introduction to poetry, and I'm not ashamed of that. And I think that any gateway or entry point into literature should be celebrated. Yes, we can criticize it on craft if we want, but I think what a lot of people forget is that in their kind of how do I put this? Their journey towards elevating their taste, they become kind of elitist in the
Mm.
sense na parang there's a lot of things that I personally like it does not speak to me. I don't enjoy it, or I just don't like it. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just the person that I am, it just doesn't speak to me. But I will always recognize that if somebody likes it, I'm like, oh, awesome. That means that this is like a group, a demographic that is being served. There are people who have these thoughts that are being, um, what's it called? Seen, heard, understood. Of course, nuance. We don't want that for like the MAGAs or whatever. Or let me be quiet before we get canceled by this government. But anyway, yeah, like I think so often, especially I think here in the Philippines, maybe because that's what I see a lot. There's so much like infighting,
Mm.
so much infighting where it honestly, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. It's giving crabs in a bucket. Like there is such a wide world and such a wide possibility for like Filipino stories and stuff like that. But we cannot expand if, for example, when we get younger writers who publish on Wattpad and we say, Wattpad lang yan eh. 'Di ba? Parang why do we stratify? And I think at the end of the day, the answer lies with the egos. Somebody in group needs an out group to feel better about being in group. If there's no out group, there's no in group. And
Mm.
so, I have a lot of criticism on that. And I think that as far as our like industry is concerned, we have miles and miles and miles to go on being welcoming. And I think not being territorial and being or having a scarcity mindset insofar as our readership is concerned.
Yeah, and that's part of books being political talaga at the industry level. Kasi the books that you read, the authors who made those books, hindi naman sila nag-exist in like a vacuum. May
Mm-mm.
context in which they existed. And parang part of books being political, I think, is treating the writing as actual labor. Na
Yeah.
the money required to kind of make things happen, ganyan, it's all still part of books being political. So parang hindi talaga makakaila na politics
Oh.
is everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and the context in which a book is written. For
Mm.
example, there are books being written in dim rooms, right? Na parang one light lang or even kandila lang.
Mm.
Or like there are incredible books being written that only get one print run. And then there are books being published that circulate, that get pushed and platformed. Why? Because pet project siya ng politician, yung author. 'Di ba? I mean, it, I entered the industry very green and very like wide-eyed and like starry-eyed and like very clueless. And then I was very disillusioned. And I think um learning that you really cannot escape politics made me more audacious in terms of like speaking about that and
Mm.
being loud about that because yeah, like the books that we see that get put in front of us, that's just like very like it's selected by like people with their own like choice, like own taste. or own agendas, not necessarily bad, of course. And so it's important to question that, not as in a suspicious, but just be like, okay, what was the context? Why is this being published? Why now? Why is it being like promoted? Who is promoting it? Like just those questions. I feel like baseline media literacy questions lang. Yeah.
Yeah, and so much of the choices we think we're making have a lot of ano ba, parang manufactured consent. Sabi nga ni Chomsky,
Mhm.
na parang a lot of things na we think we're choosing, there's actually a lot of like hidden, not to like conspiracy, hindi naman. Parang like
Oh no,
even
it
on a small scale,
absolutely.
di ba? Na parang just as you said nga, parang baseline media literacy, just kind of acknowledging na this is how we interact with media at this point in society, na
Yeah.
parang ganun talaga siya.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you're familiar with the recent like discourse on the banned geese. Are you familiar?
Yes! Mhm.
Ayan. So like you want to give everybody like a
Yeah,
background?
sige. Feeling ko
Let's
sobrang ano
go.
ito, niche. Niche online ganap. Pero there's this band Geese. Well, I like them. Besides the point. They really boomed. Hindi naman super boom. Parang there's a specific subculture online na parang nag-explode talaga sila like on TikTok, ganyan. Like people are using their songs on their videos. So sumikat talaga sila. And then there was a writer, si Eliza McClamb, who traced kind of those TikToks to, I think it was a marketing agency called Chaotic Good yata, na similar to kung paano gumawa ng troll farms ang Duterte campaign noong 2016. Medyo ganon, same vibes na parang gumawa sila ng parang hundreds upon thousands of fake TikTok accounts who will generate videos using geese songs or like post about live performances, ganyan. They call it parang narrative marketing yata.
My first encounter with it was somber. Like on my,
Mm.
I'd never interacted with anything, and all of a sudden I would get like so many fan accounts. And then, the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp trial, and then see Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. And obviously, I think, it was perfected here, the troll farm.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but yeah, we're like even in the authors now, you're what they tell you is you have your author account and then you have a side account that's still you, but you just post promos there. And so like everybody is trying to cut through the noise. And so marketing, diba, that's another thing, like what is being put in front of you. And if you're somebody that's like, okay, I don't really care if it's like an coordinated effort. If I like something, I just like it. That in itself, that decision for you to be like to stand behind what you like, that is already like a political move.
Mm.
Because yeah, for you, like it doesn't matter. And so what led to that point now you could say that it doesn't matter to you. And that's not a criticism. It's really just a matter of owning your voice and knowing yourself and then making that statement and recognizing where you are insofar as the ecosystem. Because I think dyan na nahahalo yung pagka like art as commerce. So yeah, because there's art as product, there's art as commerce, and then there's art as art. But yeah.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of something I do as someone who posts videos about books. Na napapansin mo din kasi sa algorithm na halimbawa when I wanna post like 5 romance books that made me feel kilig, for example, I would deliberately choose one na alam kong sikat na or alam kong nabasa na. At tas yun yung una kong babanggitin. And it's a very like intentional talaga. It's a very strategic. Kasi alam ko na parang yun yung ipipick up agad ni algorithm or like when people are watching just the first 3 seconds, makikita na nila yun agad and they would wanna know na, oh, what else? Kasi I already know this one, ganyan. Or they would comment
Yeah.
na, oh, I love that book, I hate that book. So, parang so many choices that seem so trivial, pero intentional talaga siya. And ako yun na parang as someone na hindi naman ako, like, I'm just someone with a personal account, ganyan. I can
Yeah.
imagine na on a larger scale, maraming ganyang, like, little decisions.
Yeah, of course. And I think like obviously, in my opinion, marketing strategy na kasi yung pinag-uusapan dyan, I don't see anything wrong naman with what you're doing, obviously, because it's the algorithm. So the deeper political question there is, how is the algorithm altering our behavior and how we communicate our interests, right? Because I think if we just stay focused on the question of, oh my God, minamanipulate ba tayo ni Andrea? Parang ang babaw na conversation. Kasi pwede, sige, like if you wanna go there, but that stays opinion. We don't really, if we want to talk deeper about it, yeah, ayun na parang, eto, my question for you is, are you still being truthful when you put that first? Is it something that you really like, or is it just because you know that the algorithm will pick it up? And who is it harming if the truth is the second one, right?
Mhm.
And so parang you weigh also the harm, the risk and whatever. So yeah, like I think I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I think it's always true.
Mismanipulating.
Yeah. Expose. Real Boss and
Canceled.
Red cancel thread.
Canceled in her own podcast.
Yeah.
I got canceled in my own podcast. That's all our faces are like,
Kaya na algorithm fix it up.
no, not this.
I remember reading like a statistic from, I think, Reuters. How do you pronounce that? Reuters.
I
Pero,
think so. Go
yeah.
na.
Ayoko na. It's so hard to be a reader tas having to verbalize. Anyway, parang they said na, syempre, a lot of people across all generations get news from social media. So, may TV pa rin naman or newspapers, pero social media talaga. Pero in terms of 18 to 24-year-olds, in terms of getting news, like the habit of getting news, we don't do it as intentionally as other generations. Kasi 'di ba parang there's the stereotype of parents reading dyaryo habang nag-aalmusal or like yung TV Patrol ay naka-on lang sa TV while you're eating dinner. Yung mga younger people, we don't have that habit anymore. So, social media talaga yung main source natin of news. And that means, now, the news that we get is always at the hands of the algorithm. Na parang, kung ano yung makita nating balita, algorithm na yung bahala. And it's alarming kasi yung TikTok meme na this is alarming po. Anyway, parang ang alarming niya kasi hindi naman natin alam paano nag-work yung algorithms, diba? Ang nakakaalam lang ay si Meta, si TikTok, ganyan. Anyway, naging ano na, internet tangent. Um, let's go back to, gumagano na?
The thought daughter of it all. Like we are connecting the dots. Like,
Exactly. That's one of
it
my
is
favorite
all
things to
connected.
do. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
It is always that deep. It is always
Yeah,
connected. You didn't
absolutely.
just fall out of a coconut tree, sabi nga nila.
Absolutely.
Diba? Siguro something more personal na lang din to you as a reader. How has reading romance so far transformed like a way of thinking that you had? This can be like a very small thing or a very big thing, ikaw bahala. Like just a transformation that reading romance has brought to your life.
Ooh, good question. Um, I think a lot of the times when I pick up a romance book and it doesn't speak to me, it further like points me in the direction of what does. So for example, I'll read a book and I'm like, oh, like I want more attention. Then that points me in the direction of, okay, I'm gonna look for more romance books with tension. And then when I find a really good book that I like, it's either because it affirmed something that I was worried that it was just me thinking that. So there's that sense of connection. Or I learned something new. I discovered something new, a facet of love that I didn't know before. And not just purely romance. I think romance as a genre, especially contemporary romance, because that's the one I primarily read. The ones that are being published at least within the last 5 years, no, 6 years now, since 2020, they often have a women's fiction slant to it. And so it isn't as much about a woman's growth, her journey, or even her, I don't know, her regression. I
Mm.
support women's wrongs too. Um, my dark romance girlies where the girl I read, oh sorry, tangent. I read one where she was stalking this guy, and then it was like a smutty novella. I loved it. Anyway,
What was the title?
Stalker.
Okay.
Stalker by Cassie Ment.
Mm.
Um, and Yeah, like I always learn something new, if not about myself or the world, about like other people. Like, oh, I didn't like a lot of people because I will be like, oh, ew, like he sucks her toes or whatever. And I'm like, sometimes I'll be like, oh, that was kind of why did that kind of like not me, like no, okay, not me coming out as a toe sucker. No, that's not what I meant. I just mean like I
Example
will
lang, example lang.
example lang yon. I
Mm-mm.
will like learn something about other people na parang if I don't necessarily, kunya yun nga, like, I can't believe this is the example I came up with. Toe sucking. I, for example, me, I'm like, I don't get it. Then I will read a book where somebody is so into it and it's like stepping into their mind and being like, oh, okay. Because it's really an exercise in empathy. So
Mhm.
now, like, when somebody brings it up, a lot of people like will be vulnerable because when they say, oh, I like this, not just speaking of sex and kinks, but like, oh, I like this. I like when the guy is timid, blah, 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 or something like that. Because I've read something about someone who was like that, it's easier for me to kind of empathize and be like, "Oh, cool, tell me more." Yeah, let's talk about your foot fetish, my guy. Like, but yeah, like I feel like I don't know with romance, kasi like it really centers people. I mean, every story centers people, but this one you're really, really relying on the relationship between two people and the people
Mhm.
to make the story work. So,
That's so true, yeah. Since we were talking about kinks and smut, there is like a question na I asked this kay Mika also when I got to talk to them about Some Days I Wish I Was a Cat. Pero what do you think about all that online conversations about people who exclusively read spicy romance? Parang they get called online as like just porn addicted or something. Like what are your thoughts on it na lang, and how can we kind of move siguro the conversation about that forward?
oh, okay. I think that like sex and kink are very, very personal subjects. So I mean, I'm only speaking from my like limited perspective and experience. I feel like number one, if that's what somebody wants to do with their spare time, we can't really like, purity culture our way into getting them to stop.
Yeah. Mm.
I'm also like, I don't know enough about like the actual like definition of pornography. Um and how it differentiates between words on a paper and what's it called, two people or however many people like with the physical bodies, the physicality
Hmm.
of it. Because from what I know, what I've read, what some people have said is that words on a paper do not harm
Yeah.
real people. And then obviously, when you have actors, even if they're consenting, right, it's still, at least from what I've read, people still say it's exploitative. Um, like again, sex work is real work, but within the industry, what I've heard is that it's still exploitative. So, um, I mean, I've had my books get called pornography. So I'm just like, okay, because I don't really know the difference in terms of the dangers. But I think generally my perspective on things is that whenever we react to like a reader trend that is primarily done by women. So for example, the uptick in women reading smutty books, and there's like this like fear mongering. I feel like we're all like forgetting that people, and especially women, are not stupid. Like
Mm.
I know, like I love a book when it like I forget I'm reading a book, but I don't actually forget that I'm reading a book, right? It's like I get immersed in the story, but I don't forget that I'm not actually like getting pinned down by a blue monster or something. And what's wrong with that? Like honestly,
Hmm.
if anyone wants to read about that, more power to you. Um and we don't also like, not to make it like a gender binary thing, but we don't really like get as much fear mongering about men who, or people who read a lot of crime, thriller, horror, murder mysteries. We don't wonder if they are romanticizing serial killers or um I don't know, like whatever else, diba? So I think there is a component of misogyny in that, because I think if women are allowed to freely explore their sexuality within the safe confines of literature, then the closer they get to sexual liberation for like themselves. And a sexually liberated woman is more empowered to make her own choices, I think. And if she makes her own choices, that might mean she wouldn't choose like a sad sack of a man. Sorry, I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
but
gets, yeah. Mm.
yeah. So I think ultimately, like, it is a matter of not trusting that a woman can make a
Mm-hmm.
smart choice, or just a choice that she's choosing for herself. Yeah. And so it's not so much the subject matter as it's the woman reading it, I think.
Yeah. Parang it's an assertion of their sexual autonomy na rin in a way.
Exactly, exactly. I think that's a better way to put it. That's a better way to put it. That's absolutely it, I think. Like, and also I think reading is such a solitary
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's such a solitary activity. So if you're reading like a really smutty book, it's just you and you're consenting. Nanaya Campbell talked about like dark romance, how um there's, I will just call it a consensual non-consent, right? And there's also like books that are essentially, I don't know if this is the right term, like a rape fantasy. And so she talks about consent as being, can be between two characters within a book, but there's also the component of consent between author and reader. So meaning to say, if a dark romance writer writes about a woman saying no and then the guy continues to pursue her, the author and the reader are in an understanding that this is fantasy, that this is fiction. And the reader, by nature of continuing to read, consents to continuing to read that. It and I think we forget that when we talk about dark romance as like, oh, it just romanticizes this and that. I think that we have to remember that people consent, and the minute that kunyari, you pick up a dark romance book and there's like a trigger that you don't like, by closing the book and not continuing to read, you revoke your consent, right? And so the harm is not perpetuated or it's not continued. But for the people that do consent, I don't know, like, do you get what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
get it. I get it.
So
Na
parang
parang
that's,
it is in your hands, literally. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, I guess that's like agency, and maybe part of the like reaction that people have is because we are so used to an algorithm that just feeds us stuff. And so we forget that we have the right to like revoke our consent and just to look away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. It all goes back to how
It
we
all goes
consume.
back.
Everything is connected.
Yeah.
Let me
Totoo.
quickly try to wrap this up. Siguro I have last two questions. My second to the last question, what makes Filipino romance different? Or like, if you think it's different, I think it's different. I think it's ramdam mo yung pagkakaiba niya when you read like a romance written by a Filipino author versus like someone from the West, ganyan. For you, what makes it different?
I'm sorry, I really forgot which person on TikTok was talking about like the tension between Phil-Ams and Filipinos from the Philippines, from the mainland, is the tension between individualism and collectivism.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that the collectivism of our culture really, really impacts the way that we approach romance. Because I mean, we have ligaw, right? We have that tradition. And what underscores the concept of ligaw is that you also have to be accepted by the current community of the person that you like. You require the approval of the friends, the family, right? Like the people around that person that you're pursuing. And then there's also like maybe like nuances and idiosyncrasies to being Filipino, like Filipino English, like boys in the back, like that's their Filipino English. Diba? Ano pa ba? Ang dami na lang ni-recommend sa akin on threads. But I really can't remember. But like the cadence in which we write, even when we're writing in English, like I can say something. Sorry for the hassle. I mean, that's English, pero the hassle is like
Mm-mm.
it becoming like a noun is very Filipino. And even the kinds of drama or stakes that happen here. Kunyara, like you have not moved out of, oh no, at 25, if a Westerner has to sneak out of the house or make takas, everyone's gonna be like, "Are you a fucking child?" Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
and but then here in the Philippines, if you're 25 and you have to sneak out, everyone it's like a non like it's not a big deal. Everyone's like, "Ah,
Mm-mm.
yeah, I get it." And I think yeah, it stems back to that collectivism. And then, like the scenery, the food, the culinary, the sensory experience that is being described in the book because I don't know. I don't know if this is the same for you, but when I read a book set in a small town in the US, I don't feel the heat on my skin the same way
Mhm,
I would
mhm.
when I'm reading a romance set here. Ramdam na ramdam ko yung init tsaka yung usok when it's set in Manila. Na parang you cannot escape it. And so there's just for me, I think that colors the the language even when the author doesn't intend for it to.
Nagsisip through lang din,
Yeah.
exactly. That's something we talked about for the last book of the month. We read Accidents Happen, the short story collection by F.H. Batacan. And it's a crime short story collection. And may isang story doon na they're describing a crime scene. Tapos sinasabi na, oh, nakita yung bangkay. It's written in English, parang naalala ko lang siya sa Filipino. Pero like, nakita yung bangkay sa gitna ng like the church and the sari-sari store, ganyan, in this alleyway, ganyan. Tapos parang, they're like ordinary words, pero as a Filipino, pag nabasa mo siya, you kind of get what the author
Yeah.
means. Parang alam mo kung anong
Yeah.
itsura nun sa
Yeah.
totoong buhay, ganyan. And that's such an exciting thing to
Yeah.
notice when you're reading.
Yeah. Because it reflects our lived experiences. I think
Mhm.
obviously as a writer and then as a reader, it has different like psychological effects. I don't know if you've read Moderation by Elaine Castillo.
Not yet. That's our next book of the month.
Oh my gosh,
Sakto.
I'm
Here
gonna
it
join.
is.
It's
Go.
okay, so Elaine Castillo, I think diaspora siya. Pero kuwang-kuha niya. Like
Mm.
kuwang-kuha niya. I haven't finished it, pero that's very early on. You will see what I mean. Um, and I think it's because as a colonized readership, we are so very used to having to translate and transpose ourselves if we even imagine ourselves in that story. Most of the time, I don't know. For me, I don't see myself. It's like I'm watching it happen to other
Yeah,
people.
ako din. Mhm.
So when I read a book that's set in the Philippines or is happening in the Philippines, it's easier for me. I don't tend to imagine myself in books, but it's easier for me to feel immersed and like it takes less context clues. Because it's like if you know, like the church and the sari-sari store, immediately you know. And like it bears no explaining na bakit lahat ng barrio may church, diba?
Mhm.
Whereas in the States, like we would be like, oh, like it would fly over our heads, right? So I don't know, like I think being able to come or go to a book with that lived experience and have it affirmed is also very like fulfilling as a reader.
And for our last question, which pains me to ask, I just wanna, yeah, all night. Siguro more generally, what are ways kaya na both kami as readers, but also the industry at large, how can we better support Filipino authors, especially independent ones?
I'm gonna get canceled, but for the industry, I think getting rid of the like scarcity mindset and the crab mentality. I think that for too long we've had chips on our shoulders. Na oh, people don't want to read our books, people don't care, there's no market. Um, that's not true, right? And like just having the grace, especially like older writers, having the grace to welcome younger writers and to like share your not resources but like what you've learned, and not
Mm-hmm.
in a way na I know better than you, but more so like yay, welcome, like here's what I learned, but maybe it's different for you, so just take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And then I think for readers it's really just a matter of giving it a try, like exploring the different genres that you would typically pick up from a Westerner or a translated book from like Korea or Japan, giving it a shot here. And if you don't like it, that doesn't mean you don't like Filipino literature. It might just be a mismatch with the author. Um, and then if you like it, I think like recommending it to a friend or anything, because word of mouth, I think, is the most powerful thing really for a reader and an author. Word of mouth has really like blown so many authors up. And so I think a lot of people get mad at me when I say this, but I think as Filipinos, we do have a responsibility to read our own literature. And I mean it, like it's really a responsibility. And it's one that I used to not understand until I started reading. And I started realizing now, oh my gosh, I was losing out on so much. Me personally, it was a loss to me that I took so long to start reading. And it's not because, oh, it's because she publishes in the Philippines, kaya gusto niya. Like, I mean, sure, whatever. Like, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just give it a shot the same way. Give it the same equal shot you would give Emily Henry, Sally Rooney, and all the different writers of the West that can write whatever they want, you know. And I think once you do that, you will start to feel empowered that, holy shit, like they can do this, we can do this. That means I can also do this. And yeah, that's, I think, at the end of the day, the most wonderful thing.
Exactly. I-overlay ko dito yung screenshot of the article that you wrote for Youngstar about how
But
there's no
I got
market for Filipino
flamed over. I did not see the comments. Like I saw one and I was like, okay,
Okay na yun. Which is
I get it.
weird kasi parang everything you said sobrang nag-resonate talaga, which I don't understand like what the backlash is about. Pero anyway.
I don't know if it's partly because I'm younger and a woman and like newer to the scene, that people don't want to hear it from me. But I also think that there's a tendency to myopia in the
Mm.
industry. Just from my experience, I'm not gonna generalize. There's a lot of wonderful people in the industry. Where are you guys? I'm kidding.
Ikalawang baso.
Please, where are you? No, but there's a lot of wonderful people, but I've also experienced a lot of like, you know, like what I was saying earlier, it's a scarcity mindset. And I empathize because I think I've had a very, very wonderful experience in terms of like encountering my readership and it growing. But I understand that for a lot of people, it hasn't matched their experience. And so when a lot of people were kind of saying, no, like what you said isn't true, I was like, that doesn't discredit
Mhm.
or invalidate my experience. So I'm speaking from my experience. You're speaking from yours. Valid, both valid.
Exactly.
This has been This Podcast Will Fix Me. Has it fixed me? Parang hindi pa. So come back for a new episode next week. And for updates, go to girlbossinred.substack.com or on my Instagram at NEHNDREA. That's Nandrea. And thank you so much for listening. Bye!